In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon. That's your best bet. You could also go to BillyCBoxing.com. And I think the publisher still has a special price on it if you get it through the site. So anyway, hey, first and foremost, we're coming off our first Billy C Roundtable last week. It started off a little bumpy, but tell you the truth, I had a lot of fun doing it. And I just wanted to make sure if you haven't seen it, go. It's up on YouTube. It's up also on our podcast. So check it out. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And remember, make sure you subscribe, follow us, all those happy things. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to try and get you all caught up on the latest boxing news and rumors, including my thoughts on the signed, sealed, and delivered Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn. The fight is scheduled for September 12th. I got a great email from a listener that I want to talk about. I got a Zuffa boxing update. I do that and much more. I'll be breaking down and predicting the biggest 5 fights, or should I say the 5 biggest fights that are scheduled for this weekend. But first, let's get going with some of the fights that took place this past weekend. In the super middleweight division, Diego Pacheco stopped Emmanuel Alim in the 11th round in their fight. Buddy McGirt, I keep telling you guys that I feel Buddy McGirt is one of the most underrated trainers out there. He's now in the corner of Pacheco. Pacheco looks like the real deal to me. It seemed like he started off a little slow. I mean, look, that's expected when you change trainers and maybe changing some technique and stuff. It looked like he was, kind of like if you're getting in a pool and it's, you want to see if it's like freezing cold, you kind of get in there slow. Well, I think that's what Pacheco was doing, because then he shifted it into second and then third gear. He stopped his opponent, and he improves to 26-0 with 19 of his wins coming by knockout. It was the stoppage was exactly at 2 minutes and 32 seconds of the 11th round. Alim loses for the 5th time. He drops to 22 wins, 5 losses, and 3 draws. As soon as the fight was over, Pacheco called out the current WBA world super middleweight champion. That's Jaime Munguia. Do I like that fight for Pacheco? I'm not sure. I really liked what I saw from Munguia in his last fight. He looked, that was the best version of him I think I've ever seen, and I've always kind of liked Munguia. I think Pacheco's a special fighter. He's young. He's tall. It's going to be a tough out for anybody in that division, especially if Buddy McGirt can get him to use his jab automatically. He's got some punching power, and he goes to the body really well. So, and Munguia, he's the same. He's a guy that can weather the storm. He can come when you think he's tired. He comes on strong. It's a good fight. I'm not sure if Pacheco is really ready for it. Give a shout out to everybody in the chat room right now. My man Hawk and Love It, she's in there. Also, another fight that was this past weekend. What if Chris Eubank, right? Well, he's got his brother who is Harlem Eubank, and he was taking on David Pepot, who was a French fighter. And it was supposed to be a fight for Eubank to shine, but Pabot had some different thoughts during that for that fight. Tons of knockdowns. They both hit the canvas several times. At the end, the final bell did ring, and the judges scored it 113, 111, 115, 110, and 115, 109, all in favor of David Pepot, who improves to 30 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with only 5 of his wins coming by knockout. And Eubank drops the second in his career, 22-2, with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. The ironic thing about this, between the two guys, they only had 14 knockouts, but yet there was several knockdowns. I believe there were 4 total, 4, maybe even 5 throughout the fight. So it was a knockdown fest, if you will. Also, Keon Mole stopped Sean Noakes to retain his IBF European welterweight title. It was waved off at 1 minute and 58 seconds of the 8th round. Malloy improves to 15-0 with 8 knockouts. Noakes loses for the first time in his career. 12. His record now is 12 wins, 1 loss. 5 of his wins coming by knockout. I like to talk about some of these fights, especially the ones from the other side of the pond, because you're going to be seeing these guys. You'll see, Noakes again. He only lost for the first time in his career. You'll see him. He's a quality fighter, but Keon Malloy is a guy to also keep an eye out. That's some fights that took place. Another fight that I wanted to mention, Victor Ortiz. Vicious Victor Ortiz. Now remember something. I was always a big fan of Victor Ortiz. All right. Until the day that, well, first and foremost, I'll go on the record to say that was a sucker punch that Floyd Mayweather Jr. did to him. I know you're supposed to protect yourself at all times, but still, nobody convinced me. And the Floyd fans all brag about what a great knockout it was. It was a scumbag move, in my opinion. But anyway, Victor Ortiz, after a fight, I forget who it was, but he took a severe beating. And after the fight, he said something along the lines of, nobody should ever have to take a beating like that, referring to his own loss. I found it funny, and I remember coming on this show and saying, yeah, nobody should take a beating like that if they're a carpenter or a lawyer or a doctor or a businessman or a salesperson. Yeah, nobody should take a beating like that. But if you're a boxer, I mean, you kind of got to think that there's a chance you might take a beating, I mean, but speak about beatings. Victor Ortiz signed with the Bare Knuckle, BKB, Bare Knuckle Boxing, as has several other former boxers. And he made his debut for BKB, and he was actually the main event. And he won a 5-round unanimous decision over Dominic Solisto. And I don't know if you saw any photos of this fight or the post fight, but Victor Ortiz looked like somebody beat the shit out of him with a bag full of granite rocks or something. I mean, it was bad. I don't even know how he could see out of one eye. And then when he saw what he looked like, up on the picture. He was all happy, and what a beating. Talk about from the same guy that said nobody should take a beating. That's that. So credit to him. Jojo Diaz, another fighter I always liked. He was also on the card. He didn't take such a beating because he knocked his opponent out, Nate Williams, in the first round with a body shot that just put him out. And then Angulo, talk about some bruiser fighters. Alfredo Angulo, he also was on this card, and he started out a little shaky, but ended up stopping his his opponent, who was a two-time national Golden Gloves champion, Rashid Bowen's second round knockout. So some BKB. Now, this is all something that I'm talking about when I say that, the BKB is doing very well with live ticket sales and everything else because it's entertaining. I mean, look, some of them are brutal. I mean, when I first watched it, I couldn't believe it. Not this one, but the very first time. It's brutal, but it's entertaining, and fans want it. Fans want to see challenging fights. Fans want to see challenging fights, which brings me to the fight that was announced. Now I don't, I know my man John from LDL TV is in the chat room right now. He was kidding with me, calling me Billy C. Nostradamus. But you guys heard me predict some people that were going to go fight for him, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later here in a couple of minutes. Speaking of Shakira Stevenson, and I've also predicted that Usyk will fight under the Zuffa banner. I predicted that Canelo will, and I wouldn't be surprised if both of those fight their next fights under Zuffa. And I also said Ryan Garcia, and everybody laughed at me because we all know that Oscar De La Hoya, well, all the promoters, but specifically Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn has been brutal to Dana White and Zuffa Boxing, et cetera, until Ryan Garcia just signed a fight with Zuffa Boxing's Conor Benn, and now it seems that promoters are going to soften up. And now I said that they would have to, and this means Dana White and Zuffa Boxing also, that they have to work together because there's only so many fighters, and a pool of fighters is the pool of fighters. You have a pool of fighters, and those are the fighters that fight. Now, you can start saying this one won't fight that one, or this one fights tougher fights than this. But at the end of the day, there's the big fights, the money fights. And this is, no knock on any promoter or anything like that. But the fighter gets to choose which promoter, which deal he wants to sign. And then he hopes that he made the right decision. Ryan Garcia had one more, I believe, from what I understand, he had one more fight under Golden Boy. I think. I don't know if he renewed or not. Conor Benn just dissed Matchroom Boxing and signed with Zuffa Boxing. Now Ryan Garcia is fighting Conor Benn. It's going to be under the Zuffa promotion, and it's going to be on Paramount on September 12th in Las Vegas. Here's the thing, and Dana White said this is such a great fight. Conor Benn has won 26 of his 27 fights, coming off a big win in the UK. Ryan Garcia is one of the biggest stars in boxing. He's a world champion. These guys are in their prime, and it's a fight they both wanted for a long time. They'll come face-to-face for the first time today on September. This was during the press conference, and they'll come face-to-face in the ring on September 12th. Now, the fireworks have already started. I don't know if you follow social media, but these two are really going to put on some entertaining press conferences in the next several weeks leading up to this fight. Here's a couple of things to consider. The fight's being promoted by Zuffa. And I guess Golden Boy now is, making nice. Hey, face it, Don King and Bob Arum, they weren't exactly bosom buddies back in the day when we were getting all these fights. But when the big fights needed to be made and the fans were calling for the big fights and they could both make a ton of money, They got together and played nice. And that's what Dana White and Oscar De La Hoya has done with this particular fight. And make no mistake, Oscar's not going to be the only promoter that works with Dana White. They're going to have to. Dana White is going to take over this sport because he's already got the bankroll. Now, in case you didn't know this, well, I'll just tell you for what I know. He's already got the bankroll that Turki Al-Rashid put aside for him. We all know that Turki Al-Rashid is not well. He's trying his hardest to get everybody to play nice. This looks like it might have been the first step. We also know that Eddie Hearn has met with Turki Al-Rashid, and they're trying to get everybody to coexist. Now, a couple of things. Oscar said he would never work with him, and he is. Zuffa said they will never honor a world title belt except for theirs, and that is not true anymore because they're honoring Ryan Garcia's championship belt, and it will be on the line for this fight. So there's been several concessions made, and I think it was worth it because, to be honest with you, I love this fight. Somebody asked me the other day, "Hey, what do you think of the fight?" And I was about to say, I stopped myself, but I was about to say right away, Ryan Garcia, and then all of a sudden, I said, "Whoa, wait a minute, Conor Benn is no slouch." All right. Immediately, the two Chris Eubank fights popped in my head, specifically the last one, in which he just, threw Chris Eubank a good old fashioned behind this shed ass whooping. And Ryan Garcia, looked fantastic in his fight when he won the title from Mario Barrios. And to be honest with you, I still think of the fight that he beat the snot out of Devin Haney. People are going to say, "Oh, he's all juiced up," or whatever. I don't even want to talk. But my point is that he can fight, and the best. I never saw him as serious and as in shape as he was for the Mario Barrios fight. He's back with his father. Hopefully, that mentality and that dedication is carrying over to this fight because he's going to need it, boys and girls. Conor Benn, he's a trash talker. So is Ryan, which is making this pretty interesting. But Conor is a tough guy. He's a strong fighter. I'm expecting him to be bigger than Ryan. Ryan moved up to welter. Conor moved up to middle to fight Eubank. And Conor, is coming back down to welter, which he feels more comfortable. But remember, Ryan Garcia, he doesn't look big. He didn't look huge against Mario Barrios, and he didn't look huge in these couple of press conferences that has taken place between these two. Now, of course, it's not fight night, and he's not, in fight condition. But I do think he's been maintaining a good condition. I love the fight. It's going to take place September 12th, and it will be on Paramount. Ryan Garcia against Conor Benn, Zuffa Boxing Promotion. And speaking of Zuffa Boxing, we'll give you some more information. I mentioned a few minutes ago, it was signed, sealed, and delivered that Shakur Stevenson signed a contract with Zuffa. I said it was going to happen. Why? Because as soon as Stevenson threw away his WBC belt because he refused to pay the sanctioning fees, which followed Terrence Crawford, and those two have been kind of tight. It did not shock me. People were asking Stevenson, what kind of fights does he expect to get with Zuffa Boxing, or what's been promised. And asked him basically why, and he had some a really good comment. He said, and this is a quote from Stevenson. He said, and I quote, "I'm in the money making business. With Zuffa, the money is insane." Before I continue with his quote, that's the thing that makes me laugh, because the other promoters are, spewing that they're not going to get money. You had a couple of the MMA fighters coming out saying that once you're in the league, the purses are fixed. Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is. But if you set the bar with guys, especially like Stevenson and Garcia, you set that bar, and they're going to have to listen. The money is generated by the name. The name gets made by the fans. And the way the fans make the name is if the name performs, right? So if a fighter performs and he's entertaining, he's going to get the fans. If he gets the fans, he's going to be worth more money because he sells tickets, sells buys, whatever. Anyway, the rest of the comment was, I wouldn't have signed with Zuffa if I didn't think I could get the fights I want. When it comes down to it, I want to fight the biggest and best fights. That's what I'm in this sport for. We're not looking for no little small fights that don't do nothing for me or my career. I'm not really thinking of being an undisputed champion. I just want to fight the biggest fights and the best fighters. I want to fight the guys that the fans want to see me fight, the guys that have been calling for years. This speaks volumes to me. And he knows that Zuffa Boxing is going to be able to get those money fights. It was evident right here. Okay, now remember, Stevenson signed before the Ryan Garcia Conor Benn was made official. All right, then this fight was made official, and all of a sudden, Ryan Garcia is saying, if I sign basically a long-term deal with Zuffa. Now he's fighting under the banner, but he's not signed with Zuffa the way Shakur Stevenson is. He's signed for that fight. I don't know what the particulars are. If Zuffa gets a piece of Ryan Garcia, should he win, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. All right. So that's usually a normal practice in boxing, but we don't know. And I don't know for sure. But it was pretty interesting to hear him quote saying, I'm not wearing, if I sign with Zuffa, I'm not wearing a Zuffa uniform. Now, what he was referring to is when Shakur Stevenson signed, the first publicity shot you saw of him was wearing a Zuffa Boxing, shorts and stuff. And I would say this, if Shakur Stevenson said the money is insane, I wouldn't be surprised if I see Ryan Garcia wearing nothing but Zuffa apparel once he's signed. So never say never. And Zuffa Boxing is starting to attract these guys. And remember something. The most important part of Zuffa Boxing and whether it's going to succeed or not is if Zuffa Boxing, if Dana White and Zuffa Boxing have the ability to cultivate their own new talent, right? Not the Shakur Stevensons, not the Canelos, et cetera, not the big names. The big names they need now. But in order for them to be successful long term, they have to cultivate young talent. And that's what I've been trying to tell you people that aren't listening to me. They are. They have these young fighters. They have fighters that are undefeated or once or twice beaten, fighting each other in extremely entertaining fights. I'm going to be breaking down the fights that is on the Zuffa card for Sunday, and they're all competitive. They may not be the top names, the biggest names in the sport, but they're all competitive fights, and that's the most important thing. And no, wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's more, because Zuffa Boxing signed Johnny Fisher. Now, Johnny Fisher is a heavyweight. He's a British heavyweight. He was fighting under Matchroom, right? And he's got a record of 14-1 with 12 of his wins coming by knockout. He lost the one fight. He got knocked out in that fight. But he's come back with a win. And, he's got a huge following. He's called the Romford Bull. He's from Romford, England. He's from Essex County, but I guess Romford is where he was born, or whatever the case. But he lost against David Allen. They had a rematch. That was the rematch. He had fought him the first time and won a unanimous decision, and it was kind of a controversial decision. So then that fight, David Allen and Johnny Fisher, was the main event of another fight, and David Allen beat him pretty badly. Now, I don't know if Johnny Fisher was exposed to a degree, and I hate to use that word, but I don't know, what else to say about that, but we'll see how he fights under Zuffa. But there's another case where Zuffa Boxing is filling up their stable with some young, sellable talent, and he's a heavyweight, and he's a guy that's going to sell some tickets. And speaking of Zuffa, because I have been speaking of Zuffa, the Zuffa 9 card, which is taking place at Madison Square Garden this weekend. They also announced that Otto Wallen is going to be on that card. They keep adding to this to their repertoire, as far as I'm concerned. And speaking of signings, no more Zuffa Boxing. But speaking of signings, Andy Ruiz, you remember him, the heavyweight that hasn't fought in, I don't know, several years, but he signed with Matchroom. Matchroom lost Johnny Fisher, so they signed Andy Ruiz. That kind of shocked me. I thought for sure Andy Ruiz would have signed with Zuffa, but he didn't. So he's going to be on a card pretty soon. Also, we have another fight that's actually coming on with on ESPN coming up on August 8th. And heavyweight contender Daniel Perro, he's 13-0 with 10 knockouts. He's another one of these Cuban fighters that fights pretty refined already after 13 pro fights. He's going to be taking on Aleem Whitford, who's only once beaten, 10-1 with 6 knockouts on ESPN. So keep an eye open for that August 8th. I don't know. These furries, Tyson Fury, his brother, he's got cousins and all of this. Well, James Dean Fury. You see the pattern here with some of these guys. Tommy Fury, James Dean Fury is an amateur, and he just signed a promotional contract with Boxer. That's Boxxer, a pretty young promotional team that's been making a splash over the last several years. He's 20 years old. His uncle Peter, that would be Peter Fury, will be training him. So we'll see how that one works out. He's scheduled to have his debut on August 8th on that card I just mentioned. So I got some I got some comments I'll talk about here from the chat room. My man Joel says, what do I think of Jay Patea suing the IBF? I don't know if he's going to be able to win that. I don't disagree with the grounds that he's suing them on, because I believe it was clearly, them, well, you're signed with them. You can't fight with our title, when he fought for the Zuffa cruiserweight title. I think the IBF tried to strong arm them. They did. They followed their own rules, even though they made them up along the way and made sure they dotted their I's and crossed the T's to fall under their rules. I don't think in a court of law, I don't think they're going to overturn it. But it's interesting to see, you never know. Maybe they work out a deal to avoid going to trial or something, because of the Ryan Garcia, his title fight on the line with Zuffa Boxing. So listen, if the sanctioning bodies, just keep one thing in mind, all right? And this is what kills me. Sanctioning bodies, beating down Zuffa Boxing and all this stuff, because they see that their sanctioning fees may be vanishing. Their cash cow, their claws that they're into all the fighters over, right? That's how they make their money, boys and girls. Sanctioning fees. Why do you think there's so many freaking belts? Because every time somebody fights for a belt, they're paying a sanctioning fee. And the sanctioning fees give the sanctioning bodies revenue so that they can have these elaborate events in different countries and all these things. But make no mistake, as long as they get their sanctioning fee, what do they give a shit? And I have a feeling that the Dana White, Ryan Garcia, Oscar De La Hoya, Conor Benn, little short term marriage that has been formed. The sanctioning body, the title is on the line, right? Which means the sanctioning body is going to get their sanctioning fee. So why wouldn't the IBF, renege or give him his title? Remember, they took it from him once before, and he had to fight and win it again. He's never lost, but yet the IBF has taken his title from him twice. Um, if they get their sanctioning fee and he makes a ton of money. Remember, when you're fighting in some of these higher end fights, they're getting a percentage of the purse, right? They're not getting the lower sanctioning fees for the lower belts are a fixed price generally, right? But once you get into these big championships, multi-million-dollar paydays, they're getting a cut, they're getting a percentage. It's a small number percentage, but a percentage nonetheless. So the more money that the fighter makes, the more the sanctioning fee is. So, you get this, you just start thinking about it. It's follow the money. But anyway, I got a really cool, so that's what I think, Joel. He's saying Frank Martin's signed with Top Rank. Yeah, I saw that. Let's see. We got some other comments. John says, beat him or join him. And I'm not going to relive that. I suffered for that whole thing. Pelicans asked me if I have OnlyFans. Do I have an OnlyFans account? I don't know. You think I would look good in a bathing suit? And isn't that OnlyFans? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I could do very well on OnlyFans unless they like boxing. I don't know. That's kind of weird, right? But anyway, I got this really cool email, and it's from my man Chase. And he said to me, hey, Billy C., what were your thoughts on Edwin Villario? And as soon as I read it, I was like, Edwin Villario. And, it's such a shame that how quickly, time goes by. And, well, let me read the rest of his email. He says he possessed knockout power in both hands, incredible stamina, unrelenting forward pressure. Some argue that his defensive technique was flawed. He really didn't have much of a defense. He tried to move his head a little bit as he would fight with his chin high and his hands low, but his career was cut short. Many question if his style would have held up against the elite technical boxers of his time. I'm not so sure it would have. What do I think? I got a comment, Mexican boxing is superior. It seems that the Mexican boxers, have more heart. I think that's what could be, I'm not so sure. You could make a strong point that their skill set is superior. Some of them are, they work certain things like body shots but their heart really, if you have two equally, in my opinion, if you have two equally talented fighters, the heart obviously is gonna make the difference. And Mexican fighters usually have heart. But anyway, Chase, here's what I think. First of all, I love the question. I love it. Edwin Villario, I can't believe it was so long ago. So in case you don't know, his career ended 27 wins, no losses, 27 knockouts. He was a relentless fighter. I couldn't explain it better than Chase did. He had power in both hands. The stamina, he never got tired. Talk about the Energizer Bunny. I never saw him get tired. As far as defense, I didn't see any defense. I mean, at times he tried to move his head, but it's tough to criticize a guy that beat everybody they put in front of him, not only convincingly, knocking him out. If you don't know the story, him and his wife, it was girlfriend at first, and then they got married. Had a very a violent relationship, and it was documented over the years. And you know, about 16 years ago, he killed his wife. There was a fight, and he ended up killing him. He was killing her. He was arrested, and shortly after committed suicide. He was only 28 years old. A troubled guy. Obviously, he obviously regretted killing his wife, and ultimately killed himself, knowing that basically, I mean, everything just came in on him. That bad move of murder. He knew his career was over and he had nothing left. Do I think he would have handled the elite of his time? I do. I do, because during his time started the safety first, cautious, be careful, don't engage. So I think, I think that, I just think that he would have done very well. I think he would have done very well. But anyway, that's that. Thanks for the email. That was my opinion, and it was a great email. All right, there's some fights this weekend I want to talk about, break down, and give you my predictions. On Friday, the return of Tyson Fury. This quietly has come. I mean, we all knew that he was going to fight somebody, and I didn't think it was this soon. I don't know if you saw on social media, but there was a video clip of him and Joseph Parker training, and they started choreographed dancing. I mean, it's like, he's obviously not taking his opponent too seriously. His opponent, Maurice Wach, the computer ranks him at number 282. Yes, you heard that right. He's the 282nd ranked world heavyweight, ranked in the world as a heavyweight. He's got a record of 39 wins, 13 coming by knockout. 20 of his 39 wins were by knockout. The computer, I mentioned he's 282nd, and of course, I didn't feel I had to mention that he also isn't rated anywhere else. None of the sanctioning bodies, the IBO computer, which I like, ESPN, the Ring. He's not ranked anywhere. He's 46 years old. That's correct. 46 years old. He's an orthodox fighter, tall fighter, 6'7.5" with an 82-inch reach. I happen to have called two of his fights. I've been ringside for another couple of fights when he was coming up. He's a really good opponent if you want to look good. I mean, he comes to fight. He's a big guy. He's usually in shape. I mean, he's 3-3 in his last three fights. He did have a win over 9-4 Petur Kiewicz, and he had a win over Michael Bolos, who was 5-5. In between, he lost to Casper Mania. He's 13-1. Moses Atuma took care of him in 2 rounds. I'm surprised Moses Atuma even lasted. Made him last for 2 rounds. The interesting fight to me was his last fight. He lost a 10-round decision, but he went, that's what I mean. He went 10 rounds with Victor Vikenhurst, who was 17-1. So credit to him, but 46 years old. He's been punched around a long time. He's an opponent, and he is going to make a few bucks, and he's going to be punched again. Tyson Fury, we all know the story about him. Interesting enough, the computer ranks him at number 5 in the world. The WBC has him at number 1. The WBA has him at number 3. The IBF has him at number 7. And this is why, boys and girls, I'm not a big fan of the sanctioning bodies because if the computer ranks him high, and 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies have him ranked somewhere in their rankings, how can you have him not ranked at all? And the WBO does not have him ranked at all. ESPN has him at 2. The Ring magazine has him at number 3. And the computer ranking that I like the most, the IBO's computer ranking system, they have him ranked at number 3 as well. He's listed at 6'9". A lot of people think he's significantly shorter than that by at least an inch or 2. I don't know. I've always went by 6'9". 85-inch reach. He's 37, so he's 9 years younger. You think of 37 and you say to yourself, well, he's no spring chicken. But he's 46. Well, I'm sorry. He's 8 years younger than his opponent. We all know the deal. He's an orthodox fighter. His last fight was against Makadurov. And it was a perfect opponent for him because Arslanbek Makadurov is a stationary guy. He's got pop, but we all know that Tyson can move around in the ring. And his 2 fights prior to that were his 2 losses to Alexander Usyk. Tyson Fury is going to win this fight. I think he's his only shot at potentially losing this fight would be if Maurice catches him with something. If Tyson Fury really all he wants to do is dance. If all he did was dance for his training, then forget about it. But even if he danced through his training, I think he still beats Wok. I'm getting an accolade for the panel last week. Thanks, love it. She said she liked the roundtable we did last week. We're doing the next one. I forget the date, but it's we're going to be doing the next one. I haven't figured what the topic is. It's not next month, the month after. So it'll be every 2 months. So we'll be doing them 6 times a year. All right. And what I think is really the most entertaining card of the weekend is, of course, the Zuffa boxing. It's Sunday, the 26th. The main event is a really intriguing fight. Edgar Berlanga is taking on Stephen Bang Bang Butler. Stephen Butler, well, let's start off with Berlanga. Berlanga is not rated by the computer because he hasn't fought in a little over a year. The WBO has him ranked at number 11. He's not ranked anywhere else except the IBO's computer has him also ranked at number 11, which is interesting. That means that I think that the WBO is actually, accurate with that one. His last fight was a 5th round knockout loss to Hamaz Shiraz. So he's coming off that loss back in July of last year. He's 29 years old. He's an orthodox fighter, 6'1", 73-inch reach. You look at his record, his 2 losses, Shiraz and the other one against Saul Canelo Alvarez. He's got he had a win over Jonathan Ortiz, Gonzalez Ortiz. He fought some guys with good records. I like his win it was a unanimous decision win over Jason Quigley. That was a decent win. And he also had a decent win over Steve Rawls. But, he talks a lot of smack. And when you look at his resume, yes, I just mentioned some pretty, talented fighters that he came out with W's against. But that next level above them, championship caliber, he's come up short. And in one case, the one against Shiraz, he got stopped. So he steps in with Stephen Butler. Bang Bang Butler. Computer ranks him at number 13. He's got a record of 38 wins, 5 losses, and a draw. 32 of his wins coming by knockout. And every loss, he's been stopped. The computer ranks him at number 13. The WBA has him ranked at number 11. The WBC, WBO, the IBF, Ring Magazine, nobody has him ranked. The IBO computer has him ranked at number 13. You know, he switched to super middleweight, and his last 4 fights, I think, first of all, I think he looks really good at super middleweight. His last 4 fights were all by stoppage wins. He's 30 years old, 5'11" and a half, 75-inch reach. Which is he's about the same height, but he's got a little reach. His last 4 fights, all wins by knockout. He's beat some decent guys convincingly. His last fight against Ramadan Hassini blew him out in 2 rounds. Who's going to win this fight? Well, first of all, I think it's going to be an entertaining fight for sure. All right. I think it's going to be an extremely entertaining fight. I tell you, everybody's going with Berlanga, but I want to be up front. I think that Stephen Butler's going to upset Berlanga, and the reason why I think this, one of the biggest reasons, is John Iceman Scully. John Scully is the trainer for Butler. Now, I know John was going to come on the show. I messed up and didn't send him a link. Then the other 2 times we couldn't get happen, and the reason was because he's been working so hard with Butler. Now, I'm not suggesting at all that Edgar Berlanga was not training. I did not say that, and I just don't have an in the training camp. And I've seen some of the workouts that John is working with Butler on. This is a guy that he's coming to win. He's not coming to get a payday. He's coming to win this fight, and I have a feeling he's going to upset Berlanga. Now, Berlanga is also a Zuffa fighter. And one of the things I wanted to ask John is I don't know if Stephen Butler is today, but should he put on a good performance and even win like my prediction, I could guarantee you that he's going to be signed with Zuffa after that. The next fight is an interesting fight. Richardson Hitchens, who's this is a welterweight fight, who I love watching him. He's 20-0. His last fight was over a year ago. So again, he's not getting ranked anywhere except the IBF and WBA both have him ranked in their top 5. The IBF has him at number 3 and the WBA has him at numero 5. His last 4 fights were all against a pretty decent opposition, including his very last fight, which he beat by knockout, no less, in the 8th round. George Kambosos Jr., who's a highly regarded fighter. He also beat Leon Paro, Gustavo Lemos, and Jose Zapata. I mean, those were his last 4 wins. So all very good opposition. He's 5'9", 74-inch reach, orthodox fighter. Now he steps in the ring with Ricardo Salas Rodriguez, who's 24 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. He's got 18 wins coming by knockout. A good young fighter. He's only 27 years old. 5'7.5", 70.5-inch reach. So he's given up some height and reach in this fight. The computer ranks him at number 24. The IBF has him at number 7. The WBO has him at the WBO has him at number 11. He's not rated by the WBC, WBA, Ring, ESPN. The IBO computer has him ranked. That's the same as the BoxRec computer at number 24. His 2 best wins, honestly, Roman Villa back in 2024. And last year in August, he beat Jesus Estrada Sanchez. Those 2 were decent fighters. He's stepping up to fight Richardson Hitchens. This is going to be, I don't think it's going to be a blowout right away. I do think Hitchens is going to win this fight. I think it'll be an entertaining fight. Like I feel most Zuffa fights are, but in the end, Richardson Hitchens is going to win that one. All right. This card, a lot of people have been talking about. There's a lot of fanfare about this. This is the return of Errol Spence Jr., and he takes on Tim Tszyu. Errol Spence Jr., of course, he's not rated anywhere. His last fight took place July 29th, 2023, when Terrence Crawford beat the living shit out of him. His record is 28-1. 22 of his wins coming by knockout. His one loss was the knockout loss at the hands of TC. He's never been the same. He is just, he's 36 years old already. That surprised me when I was doing, getting ready to do this breakdown. For some reason, I guess it makes sense, but for some reason I thought he was younger. He's a southpaw, 5'9.5", 72-inch reach. Look, aside from Terrence Crawford, let's be real, he's had some decent names on his resume. Danny Garcia, he beat. Danny Garcia was old. Sean Porter, that was a questionable win. He won a split decision in that one. Mikey Garcia moved up 3 weight classes to fight him. Lamont Peterson, he was old. He had a lot of mileage on him when he fought. Kell Brook, he was old. He had come off that fight where he got busted up. The Leonard Bundu fight was a good win for him. Chris Algieri, he stopped. That's good because Chris Algieri was a pretty good defensive fighter. But then, like guys like Chris Van Herden, he was already out. Samuel Vargas had been around. Phil LaGreco. I mean, all these fighters, nice names, nice wins on his resume. I give him credit, but they were calculated wins. He's coming off a 3-year layoff. He also had to change the contract to go up to 160. That could mean he's, full of muscle, or he's having a hard time making weight. Now he steps in the ring with Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu, he's been having a rough time lately himself. 27 wins, 3 losses, 18 of wins coming by knockout. Of his 3 losses, he got stopped twice. He lost 2 fights to Sebastian Fundora. One was a knockout loss in his second fight. But the first fight was that bloodbath that should have never, ever been allowed to continue. So really, he should have 3 losses, all by stoppage. His other loss was Bakram Murtazalov. He lost to him. He's the computer. I just murdered his name, so I apologize. The computer ranked him at number 6. The WBC has him ranked at number 5. The WBO number 1. The IBF has him at number 6. He's not rated, surprisingly enough, to be honest with you. The WBA, the Ring, or ESPN. The IBO has him at number 2. See, I would have thought he was ranked at least in the top 10 on the Ring magazine and ESPN rankings, to be honest with you. 5'8.5". He's 31 years old. Of course, he's the son of the great Tszyu. His best wins. His best wins were from 2021 through 2023. I mean, he's got wins over some good fighters: Dennis Hogan, Steve Spark, Takashi Inoue, Monster Inoue's brother, Terrell Joshua, who's a very talented fighter, Tony Harrison, Carlos Ocampo, and Brian Mendoza. Brian Mendoza was a tough out, and he beat them. When he fought Sebastian Fundora, his career kind of just changed. I mean, he fights Sebastian Fundora, loses the Bloodfest, gets knocked out by Mirza Tazalov. He beats Joseph Spencer, then comes back and loses to Fundora again. And his last 2 fights, Anthony Velasquez and Dennis Nerja, both unanimous decision wins that took place December of last year and in April. Who's going to win this fight? Well, listen, they both have seen better days. Tim Tszyu's in his hometown. Errol Spence has been there for several weeks, or at least 10 days. He's been, the host of the toast of the town. And by the way, that fraud, one of the two Charlo brother fraud, was supposed to be on this card too, just in some layup fight, and he couldn't even get into the country because of visa problems. You would think that all of that stuff would have been taken care of before, right? But who's going to win this fight? Listen, I think Tim Tszyu is going to win this fight. I think Errol Spence is finished. And, Terrence Crawford not only beat the shit out of him, but, he wasn't the same. He just, he after that, he went, he went on the binges. He busted himself up. I mean, I just don't think he's the same fighter that when I rattled off all those decent wins. I just, he's just not. And I think we're going to see the very last of Errol Spence Jr. When he loses to Tim Tszyu. He's already said that if he loses, he's going to hang him up, which sounds to me that he's already accepted losing, because most fighters, you never hear them say, if I lose. They always say when I'm going to win. The fighters that are fighting to win will always say, when I win this fight, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to win, that's the mental state you got to be in if you want to be a successful fighter. So I think I think it's a payday. They probably paid him buku dollars to go down to Australia for this fight. I believe it's New Zealand, wherever this fight is. This fight is, I'm pretty sure it's in Australia. But in any event, that's who I'm picking for that one. All right. In the fight that really, the only entertaining guy, listen, the only nail biter card you might see is on Zuffa's card. The Berlanga Butler fight is a really good fight. And, Hitchens, he's going to win the fight. Whether it's entertaining or not, I don't know. But I really like the Berlanga, Big Bang Butler or Bang Bang Butler fight. I love it. But I've always kind of been a fan of Anthony Joshua. So I saved this fight for last. Joshua has disappointed me, of course. I thought he had the heavyweight division right by the you-know-whats, and he let it slip away. He had the talent. He just was never fighting consistently the same way. And I could say that also about Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois hasn't fought the same way. When he fights, like the way he fought against Anthony Joshua, I don't think there's a heavyweight, including Usyk, that can beat him. But the way he fought Usyk was a little too cautious. And Usyk fights, he figures out how he's going to fight during the fight based on what you're giving to him. But in any event, Anthony Joshua, 29 wins, 4 losses. Of his 29 wins, 26 coming by knockout. He was stopped himself twice of his 4 losses. The computer ranks him at number 7, WBC at number 5, the IBF at number 5, the WBO at number 3, the WBA at number 5, and ESPN has him at number 7. The Ring does not have him ranked, and the IBO has him ranked at number 4. The interesting thing about those rankings is, his last 3 fights, he fought Francis Ngannou, who he destroyed. And if you recall, Francis Ngannou was a crossover fight from MMA. Then he fought Daniel Dubois and got knocked out. Then he fought Jake Paul, who we all loved watching him rearrange Jake Paul's jaw. So with the win against Daniel Dubois, and coming off the law, I mean, so basically, he's ranked that high for beating Jake Paul, and you can't just say one. Even the computer ranks him that high. The reason why they rank him that high, I'm sure, is because of his whole body of work. He's got some great wins, against guys like Povetkin and of course Andy Ruiz. He lost to and then won. The second Usyk fight, I believe he won. I think he got robbed on that one, or not robbed. It was a close call. I had him winning the fight. It was not a robbery. It was a close fight. He beat Joseph Parker. I thought Vladimir Klitschko's head was going to end up in the third row with the uppercut that stopped him. So I mean, he's got some really good wins, and he's a talented fighter. He's got a beautiful jab. Um, when he fights aggressively, he's a tough out. He's a tough out. The problem is he leaves himself open. His defense isn't that great, and he's got a suspect chinny chin chin. He steps in the ring with an Albanian fighter, Christian Prenga. The computer ranks him at number 35. His record: 20 wins, 20 knockouts. The only fight that he's ever seen the end was the fight he lost. He lost a fight by decision in his fifth professional fight. So this guy, he's got 21 fights, 20 wins by knockout. The computer ranks him at number 35. He's not ranked anywhere else. The IBO has him at number 30. He's 35 years old. I told you he's an Albanian fighter, 6'5", orthodox. He's living in Jersey right now. You look through his resume. He's got some tough fighters on. To be honest with you, in my opinion, his best win out of all these guys, and some of them have not terrible records, but Joey Dwejko, he stopped in 5 rounds back in 2024. Joey Dwejko is no world beater, but he's a tough fighter. So I give him some credit for that, but he's never beat a top or even close to a top ranked fighter, or even somebody you would call a ranked fighter. Anthony Joshua is going to win this fight. It's got to be a showcase fight for Anthony Joshua, as well as a showcase fight in the other fight tomorrow night, or I'm sorry, Friday night with Tyson Fury. Both of them are in clearly layup fights, although I think Prenga's got a knockout chance against Anthony Joshua, because of a suspect defense and a suspect chinny chin chin, whereas Tyson Fury is pretty hard to hit sometimes, especially for a guy like Moritz Wach, a guy that I'm saying it because I called 2 of his fights, and I've been ringside for in addition to those 2 others, so 4 fights at least, from what I recall. And especially it might have been 5, because there was one early on in his career where he was undefeated, which was early in his career. But Tyson Fury will definitely be able to fight defensively against Wach, but Prenga's got a shot on that. So my man Dax, give a shout out to Dax. I'll show you what he says. He says he saw Spence on Andre Ward's podcast, and he says he's in a good place mentally, knows what's caused his decline. If Spence boxes, avoids brawling, he can break him down. True. I just don't. I don't think. It's good that he's in a good place mentally, and whether this is my opinion, whether of course he's going to say all the right things on an interview. We all know that. But if he is in a good place mentally, that could be looked upon 2 ways. Dax's point, I believe, is that he's in a good place mentally, and if he can focus on boxing, he could win a fight. Focusing on boxing skill, I should say, he could win this fight. So if his mind was set in that way, but on the other side of the coin, like what I thought, if his mind is already cashed out, if his mind is already like, I'm getting a payday, I'm going to do the best I can, I'm going to try my hardest, I'm going to try to outbox him. I just don't. I don't think the heart's there. I'm sorry. We'll see. I might be wrong. I've been wrong in the past, and I'll own up to it. But my upset this week is clearly going to be actually 2, I guess. I think Tim Tszyu going to beat Spence, and I also think Butler is going to upset Edgar Berlanga, which I think is going to be really good for his career. And I also think that that's the best card of the weekend. Listen, boys and girls, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And I just want to remind you, we'll be back next week. So make sure you tune in, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this.